Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also. But again, the debate just doesn't have any depth or character or anything like reasonableness. So we're stuck with, me making pleas here and there, and all I can do is make the arguments. Alright, so I will get to comments, but, first we'll just, I was writing, a little bit and just going through all of the history and thinking about all of these experiments that show absolutely no evidence of kinetic energy, and they're just unexplainable why this energy doesn't show up. I mean, it really, there's an obligation for it to be somewhere or be usable, and it's not. And so I'm just wondering, what experiment do I have to do? I guess it won't matter if I show a drill and I, make it go 5 times as fast and it only uses 3.5 times the electricity, the wattage. That won't convince you because you'll say it's some sort of relativity thing, or I don't know what you're going to make as an excuse. But what experiment would do it for you? Obviously, I just can't even imagine how you actually believe that the 5 mass vehicle, traveling 2 velocity, would somehow have more energy than the 10 mass going 1 velocity and somehow win in a collision. So I think you already know that doesn't happen. Your theory seems to say it should, right? What else? Where else can the energy go but into the collision? What is this energy if it can't be used to do anything? If it can't do anything? And then the ballistic pendulum. If they actually put a thermometer in one, which they haven't done, but if they actually did measure the heat and you found out that, it's only like 15 joules and that was the same amount of momentum that you didn't conserve, and so it all adds up. You're a little short on the momentum, so there it is. It's a little bit of heat. Would that convince you? And then we could say, okay, we're done now. We don't have to do this anymore. So the lever doesn't work, right? The thousands of year old simple stick that tells you what equals what in terms of a weight, which is essentially a momentum. Let's understand weight is just as easily to measure this way as it is to measure this way. You just give something a velocity. It does the same thing to the spring. It's no different than the gravity thing. It's just a momentum. And the lever says that the magnitude of their capacity to impose force or to create action are completely different than kinetic energy numbers. The kinetic energy numbers have nothing to do. If I did it by kinetic energy, that won't balance. It'll be lopsided. That doesn't indicate to you there's a problem. Houston, we have a problem with this theory. Houston, the very fact that a spaceship can't absorb the bullet's energy in any way, that it doesn't matter, that it's impossible to use the energy. You can't use it as thrust to move, and you can't be hit by it and actually absorb the energy. All you can absorb is the momentum. Why would they use an energy equation, about impacts in space, if the impact is only going to be momentum? If the only thing that can be exchanged is momentum, then why would the impact be relevant or significant? The hose thing is, the water wheel is this, it's just so obvious. What what about that experiment lacks credibility to you? We know that you can't funnel water. That is, reduce the volume by 1/2 and increase the velocity by doubling it. So we have the same momentum. We've conserved the momentum, yet now we have a stream that has twice the energy. So why can't it do twice the work? It doesn't work, okay? They didn't construct water wheels by narrowing and narrowing and narrowing the stream and getting faster and faster water because it did more work. Because it didn't do more work. What do you have to see? I can't imagine what it is. We know you can't just take a hose and increase the kinetic energy. You saying we will increase what you calculate to be the kinetic energy, but we know we can't get any more work out of it. It's not going to do any more work. It's not going to light more light bulbs. So shouldn't this conversation be over? What do you need to see? I mean, you know, you go into a whole pressure thing, hydraulics. It all fails. Every single time you go to try to collect this stuff, you're unable to collect it. The simple cart thing with adding the 5 mass to the 5 mass and making a 10 mass. I mean, do you really think half the energy just disappeared somewhere? Somehow the impact destroyed half the energy, when you know the impact can be incredibly graceful. So I just, you should be able to understand why I'm just seeing a tremendous amount of insincerity in you. If somebody else was proposing this theory and they had this burden to get overcome, all of these contradictory results. I mean, the Mythbusters crashed the cars, no sign of kinetic energy. I mean, how many tests does it have to fail? And again, if somebody else was proposing it, if a flat earther was proposing a theory that kept failing every test, you know, I don't think you'd have any problem saying, oh, come on, that's nonsense. Why are we wasting time on this? And then when you go into the actual history of this stupid theory, we find out that there's no evidence. The evidence was junk right from the beginning. They never even measured the axiom. You know, 4 pounds dropped 1 foot, 1 pound dropped 4 feet. They didn't even bother doing the experiment. There's no place I can take you to where, hey, look, we showed how this is a truth. There's no place. So the axiom that it was all defended by, the notion that started the whole thing, hasn't even been demonstrated to be the truth. So, yeah, I don't, you know, that's a context here, and I'm just saying you have to understand why I find you incredulous. I mean, this just looks like grotesque hypocrisy. If I was suggesting mv squared and you were defending momentum, don't you see how you would dismiss me almost instantly? As soon as I failed the lever test, you'd dismiss me. Come on. And then the water thing. I mean, you dismiss, yeah, come on, it can't work. Doesn't happen. There's no evidence of it. The ballistic pendulum, 99.94% of the energy can't get into the pendulum. And again, if you actually did collect it in the pendulum, if the pendulum actually did move consistent with a tiny, even 97%, if you only lost 97%, if you only kept 3% of the kinetic energy, then you'd have to explain how you created free momentum. So you know it can't. Theoretically, it's got no ground. There's no ground for this theoretically, logically, reasonably. It is so inconsistent with the experimental evidence. Brother. Anyway. So, Storks guy, or Starks guy. All your arguments are made using your own definition of force and energy. We're arguing about the definition of force and energy. That's what we're arguing. My arguments aren't based on that. My arguments are, here's the experiment, here's the result, here's the reasonable conclusion. That is, you neither agree that force equals mass times acceleration. I don't disagree with that as stated. But if you're going to say acceleration is per second squared, I'm going to say, no, it isn't. It's just an added velocity. It's not a velocity squared. There's no squaring anywhere. All of these velocities are in 1 second units. 9.8 meters per 1 second, not squared seconds. Okay. Nor that energy equals force times distance. Well, I'm saying that the distance is a consequence of the energy, and clearly the distance will be different if you do the experiment in different circumstances. So if we say without variables, that is without anything taking the energy or consuming the energy in some disproportionate way, then you fail right there. But I'll say, yes, force times distance. You go twice as fast, you go twice as far in space. There, we're done. You know, okay, so I could agree with it, but it could only work in one context. My argument to you is that time works in any context, because you're basically saying it's 9.8 meters per 1 second. It's clearly in timed units. I mean, how could time possibly get the wrong answer? Oh, that's right. I can't possibly get the wrong answer. Anyway, hence when you say E equals 1 half mv squared, mv times v is wrong, people assume you are using classical physics definition. So again, this is not about this is the argument is about what is the truth. What is the true definition? And what is the accurate formula? And the fact is yes, I'm defending mv, momentum, against some notion that there's some other kind of energy besides a mass and a velocity, and that only mass and velocity can be exchanged. The 8-pound bowling ball going 16 miles an hour versus the 16-pound ball going 8 miles an hour. The factual truth is, again, it's just like the ballistic pendulum. You say the 8-pound ball has more energy, but it can't be collected by the pins. Well, why are we having a conversation about energy that is so impotent? Okay, it's impotent energy. That's not that. If you that's written on a bottle, impotent energy, you don't want to take it. Okay, definition of force and energy to disprove it, which you cannot under classical. So he's saying I can't argue that momentum is real and kinetic energy is nonsense invented by a religious kook, and then sustained by crystal rubbers, and that there is no evidence. There just, as a practical fact, there just isn't any good evidence. You can't show me it taking, in any circumstance, 25 times the fuel to move something, spin something, cause action in something 5 times as much. You can't do 5 times the action with 25 times the fuel. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. All right. Since E equals m times a times dx minus 1 half, or whatever all that is by definition. So again, you're by definition by who? Who says so? God? You know, you don't know anything about this history, right? Yeah, I mean, this isn't some kind of formula that, they saw the experiment and then wrote the formula. That's not how it worked. The guy had some vision of God running the universe and, believed that you needed this living force. Whatever it is. Okay, a more useful video topic. Fuck you. I mean, fuck you. So physics has a duality, okay, clearly. Momentum versus KE. It is a duality. The two theories are not compatible in any way. Anytime you try to transfer energy from one mass to a different mass, the whole thing breaks down, and one of them is demonstrated to be false. And it's always the kinetic energy, frankly. So what? It's not a topic. Fuck you. I mean, it's just so ridiculous to type this crap. Okay. Is if you propose your alternative definition of force and energy formally defined. I mean, it's just such nonsense talk. Oh, I mean, fuck you. I mean, it's a simple argument. MV, does it work? Does it get right answers? Does it land you on the moon, which it did, versus 1 half mv squared? What has it done? Well, it's miscalculated the weight of the electron. I know that much. In accelerator physics, it's created all kinds of extraordinary particles with this supersonic type energies, mega energy. But none of them can ever transfer their energy to anything. So it's all kind of what the fuck energy. Anyway, according to him, momentum and energy, mass and velocity is all there is. Yes, according to him, energy. Didn't we already do this? Well, it's almost the same as the other conversation. Are the same force, same work, is the same momentum. Yes, everything is the same. It's momentum, momentum. Everything functions in the universe based on the idea of some piece of something hitting something else, and the piece of something has a mass and a velocity, and it can exchange that. In the elemental universe, it has to exchange it in Planck units, in clumps, and in the bigger universe, it can exchange it as percentages. You have 50 little balls, you can give away 20. But in the small universe, where they're just little balls, it's 1 ball or no balls. No balls. Okay, he therefore thinks momentum is a scalar. So again, this nonsense, just of course, I think a velocity is always, 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 always a vector. All right, so I mean, it's just, you know, it's always got a direction, not a vector. So again, that's just nonsense. Of course, I think momentum is a vector. And if there was kinetic energy, it would have to be a vector. Okay. Even though there exist so many experiments proving that direction matters in momentum. So again, where did I say, being a vector doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Direction doesn't matter. So nowhere did I say direction doesn't matter. And nowhere did I say with big objects it doesn't look like they're moving. I mean, clearly we're moving in gravity right now. The Earth is constantly pushing you up. It's a fact. The force is constantly pushing you up. It doesn't push you up once and then stop pushing. So it's clearly a constant pushing, all right? But we don't see it going up and down, do we? No, but we know it is. We can know it is. If you're logical and reasonable, you can understand that the force isn't canceled. It's constantly working all the time. All right. Experiments proving that direction matters for that and that opposite directions can cancel with each other out. So we really don't have any experiments, right? So the only experiments they use are these cart experiments where I've explained the wheel track of their low friction carts is all metal and the cart is plastic. So they're hiding a bunch of energy in angular rotation of the wheel track, the axles and the wheels. And so yes, you can get funky results because you've got 30 or 40% of the momentum is an angular momentum, hidden. Can't see it when it's moving. Okay. And then the air track, I've explained how, well, the air track has an obvious defect in the sense that it's pumping energy into the system. And if you do anything to tilt the car, to do anything at all of a sudden it's going to create a little jet engine and create free momentum, free energy from, it's not free, but I mean, energy outside of the linear momentum you're trying to keep preserved. That it's very easy to create a distortion in that linear momentum by using some of the air being pumped into the air track to cause linear motion. According to him, it all depends on time and not distance. So, whatever. I think it's just obvious, okay, that MGT works. So it does. So I can give something a velocity heading right for the planet and I'll get the right answer. Okay, I can push things away and get the right answer. I go side to side, I can get the right answer. So MGT works everywhere. MGH only works with some object you place in space and then drop a certain distance. It won't work if something has a velocity already. Alright, so stonks. Those are contradictory definitions, so it just doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, they're clearly theoretical propositions, okay, stating here, this is a formula, which one is right, which one is wrong. I'm saying if you did an honest evaluation of the two formulas, you would find that one of them always gets right answers and one of them always, well, in half the cases, will get wrong answers. All right. Then say F is applied for 2 seconds, then work equals F times 2. It's 2 units of the force. Yes, what do you think gravity's doing? Something falls 4 times the distance. It's only in the gravity 2 units. It only gets 2 units of velocity. And you're saying 2 units of velocity is 4 units of magical energy. Now, obviously, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it won't do 4 units of work. So the fact is the hose proves that to be non-viable mush, okay? So if I make a water wheel and I put it in a stream and then I focus the stream with twice the velocity, I won't get your result. It won't work. Your theory will fail that test, which implies that 2 equals 1, which is false. Well, obviously 2 doesn't equal 1, so it's just mush, 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 mush. So this idiot, I don't know, Tommy Hawk Man or something, I don't know, some kind of Indian, I guess, got some sort of funny hat. Drop a rock from 10 meters high, measure the velocity it has when it impacts the ground. Yeah, so I'm just saying for 350 years, Physics hasn't done any of these experiments. None of them. It hasn't done any of them. And it doesn't, they're so simple and they haven't done them. Just a fact. And you're telling me to do it? Hilarious. Drop a rock from 40 meters high. Measure the velocity when it hits the ground. We already know what their velocities are going to be, jackass. So this isn't even an issue. All right, we know the velocity is going to be twice because it's twice the time. I mean, Galileo did all this crap. I mean, you're such an asshole. Anyway, clearly, lifting a rock by 40 meters takes four times as much energy. So we know it depends on how you lift it, right? If you take an hour to lift it, it'll take 400 times more energy. But there is a speed, a perfect speed, that will launch it, and the gravity will consume all of the energy, and it'll land right on top of where you want it to be. And at that speed will be exactly the free fall speed. It'll just be free fall in reverse. So free fall in reverse is the ideal, most efficient velocity to get something to a place. And that velocity is 2. Okay. Clearly, lifting a rock up by 40 meters takes 4 times as much energy when it would take to lift a rock 10 meters up. So it clearly doesn't. That's the whole point. Okay, yet due to constant acceleration, the second object will only have twice the velocity. And it doesn't matter. It's constant force against it when you launch it. Moron. Okay, it's quite intuitive to show why show why how it works. Go ahead, show me it working. Show me it collected ever on planet Earth. Okay, do the experiment, film it, and publish it. Your results on YouTube. So again, this experiment doesn't need to be done because the results are already known. What we don't know is that your claim that somehow going twice as fast means you have 4 times the capacity to do work, that you'll compress the scale 4 times as much, which you will not do. So you do the experiment, fuck brain. Yeah. Ugh, these people are just so bad. Your ball rolling down a ramp has the exact potential energy as the ball dropped from the height in free fall. Yeah, we're not talking about its potential energy. We're talking about the actual energy produced in the universe. So when you roll the ball, you actually make more energy in the universe in the sense that detectable energy being caused by the experiment. So by increasing the time it takes to fall, more gravity is used, and therefore it heats the ramp and makes the same momentum of the object falling. So I mean, I can't believe, right, that I have to do this. I've already done it 3 times. I'm going to have to keep doing it over and over again, pointing out something so fucking obvious. Clearly, the extra heat of the ramp is more than what you have in the other experiment. The other experiment doesn't have any rotational energy, and it also doesn't have any heat. So it's clearly more energy in one experiment than in the other experiment. Morion. Okay. Sure, you heat the ramp. So how can I have created the same linear speed of the object, momentum, and heated the ramp without drawing the obvious conclusion that more force has been used? I can't do both things with the same amount of force. With friction, but you also lower the kinetic energy by the same amount. So where was the kinetic energy lowered? It has the same mass and the same velocity. How did I change the kinetic energy? So that's just you saying so. Creepy guy who takes images from movies and uses them as his icon. Okay, the potential energy converted is the same. I mean, it's quite obviously it's not the same because it's more time. Oh, brother. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how long you stand in the rain, you won't get any wetter. That's his theory. Okay. When the ball rolls down the ramp, it is actually not moving in the y direction, but also being constantly deflected in x. So none of that matters. The fraction causing the roll, there is no friction. The ball would just slide down the ramp. Yeah, well, who cares whether it slides down? You don't think sliding is also friction? So it's your theory that sliding isn't friction? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny. Oh God. So because sandpaper doesn't roll, it's completely non-frictional. Amazing. The mass of the ball has a lower distance to travel and is also slower. So that, go ahead, show that. Demonstrate that somewhere. I think everybody is under the impression that the ball ends up moving at the same velocity that the falling ball was moving. The kinetic energy of the ball on the ramp will be less. Okay, so you're saying its momentum has to be less then. Okay, it's the same mass, for fuck's sake, retard. You understand? It's the same mass. So if its kinetic energy is different, then its velocity has to be different. So, and obviously Galileo was basically saying, nope, it's the same velocity. Okay. In comparison to the ball in free fall, you can easily measure that if you stop both balls. There is an error in your thinking. No, you're the one clearly that's doing the dopey dope thing here. Dopey rope. Rope-a-dopey. Yeah, you're rope-a-doping. So no, gravity does not give the ball more energy just because it rolls down the ramp. Well, that's not the explanation. It's not just because. It's because the ball is in the gravity longer. Okay. It is lost in the friction and movement in x. So again, what is lost? It has to be extra force because the ball's moving at the same velocity as the falling ball. So again, he's just not considering the obvious fact that the ball is moving the same velocity as the falling ball, except it's doing it in this direction. The kinetic energy is not the same. So he says it again. There is the energy loss you are looking at when you claim it gained when rolling down the ramp. So again, you have no evidence. You'll link to nothing. You got 5 thumbs up for this piece of shit. You know, just making bizarre claims that he can't defend. So, what do you say to that? Oh, fuck you. Yeah, that's what I say to that. Well, we'll just remove him for now, but he's obviously not going to come back with anything reasonable. Hey, I mean no disrespect to you as a person, just being honest here now. I don't care. Fuck you. Yeah, I'm just being honest. I hope you get what you deserve. Just being honest. Okay, but you don't seem to understand much about any physics, and you're proving that with what argument? I seem to know more about Leibniz, Descartes, Descartes, Galileo. I mean, we could just go down the list. I know about them, Joule, and what experiments he exactly did. What do you know? Oh, okay, yeah, we don't know what you know. So again, I've you know, in the 10 years, I've played hundreds of physics lectures. Hundreds. Okay. And with all due respect, it also does not seem like you can communicate whatever it is you're trying to communicate to. You're trying to communicate your. I don't know what the your there is. So it doesn't seem like you can write a sentence quite right. So again, you know, I can't communicate with minkies, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, you're all behaving like poo-throwing minkies, okay? You haven't made any kind of reasonable arguments to anything I've said. Do you think you can make a water wheel do more work by narrowing the stream, cutting its volume in half, and having the momentum, the velocity of the water go twice as fast? Do you think you can make more energy that way? Do you think it takes 25 times the energy to spin a motor 5 times as fast? Could you answer the question? Because it'll be the giveaway, okay? If you say yes you do, you're going to wonder, well, why the fuck would you believe that? Have you seen anything indicating that's true? Okay, very likely because of lack of knowledge on the subject. So more just vague statements. Yes, you're an idiot. I bet you try to rape pigeons. Okay, I bet you are, you know, you molest goldfish. Just so many things I could accuse you of. You know, there's an endless list of accusations I can make with absolutely no evidence. Amazing. Really recommend getting a high school physics book and just brushing up. Hope this gets better. Cheers. Yeah, well, I hope you get what you deserve, you liar, you stupid moron, you fucking troll, you fucking piece of human garbage. I hope they shit on you in the future. Okay, fuck off. What crap. Let's see, he says, this is a good project. I'll debunk lunatics. That's what the flat earth debunkers are doing. My brother in Christ, you are a lunatic. So that's the same moron. So obviously a moronic statement. So, okay. That's consistent anyway. All right. So we did this rocket shooting springs backwards crap. So we'll just get rid of all this rubbish. None of it has anything to do with anything. All garbage, 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 garbage. So just nothing. I mean, like I said, you're just proving my point. Humans have no integrity, generally speaking. You're just void of it. It doesn't. And as I stated, in my opinion, it comes with intelligence. The only thing that made me give a shit about the truth or honesty or integrity or dignity or any of those concepts is having knowledge about them, becoming intelligent, informed about how the world works and how it really depends on people having integrity. The whole civilization can't calculate correctly if the little individual humans can't calculate correctly. And clearly you're all lying scum in the sense that you're duplicitous hypocrites. If I came to you with a theory as poorly demonstrated as your theory of kinetic energy, as impossible to demonstrate as your theory, you would rightly dismiss me and say, please, don't waste everybody's time with that nonsense. That would be your reaction. You know it. You don't have any evidence, and all of the evidence points against. And you're just playing this silly game of, defend the wrong side, defend the cheaters, defend the broken, defend something that's clearly not right. And it's disgusting. I now understand why Einstein died kind of depressed. Because, this is depressing science. Science that doesn't need evidence, that doesn't need things to be consistent, that doesn't need there to be, when the trials are going to be this unfair, deciding what the truth is. It's just really depressing. So, it's not much to say. Your failure will burn you in the end. Okay, so your failure to be quality humans will cost the future dearly. That will be a fact. All right. So till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. And of course, fuck you until dead.